Hey, it's me, Lenny Schmidt. Welcome back to Total Schmidt Show. Tuesday nights live. Not live. Recorded. 6 o'clock. Whatever. Anyway, we're back. This week, I just came from Ensenada. I'm sitting in San Francisco introducing a video I shot in Alaska almost a year ago with my friend Alan Mingo from Kinky Boots, who's performing on the Norwegian Encore. He's also performed it on Broadway. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Let's go. Hey, welcome to Total Schmidt Show. How you doing? I'm back at sea. Here's what you're going to get from this show. It's kind of like quarantine comedy, except I'm not going to be home. Actually, it's kind of like quarantine comedy and a combination of all the stuff I've done online over the last year or so. There's sketch stuff, live stuff, stand-up stuff, travel stuff, and of course, conversations with others who do the same things that I do on a daily basis. That's it. That's the whole show. And I'm going to record it all and put it on the intraweb. Sometimes. Usually late. Always late. Maybe, I don't know. And weekly? Nah, maybe. Sort of. Could be. Either way, sit back. I hope you enjoy whatever the hell it is I put together for this week on Total Schmidt Show. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into Total Schmidt Show. This is the show where I travel the world and I talk to entertainers that I work with all over the world. And we're here every Tuesday, 6 o'clock streaming. I got tons of recordings to show you guys, tons of people to introduce you to. So we're going to do one today. First, do me a favor if you can. Please like the video. It's very important if you give it a thumbs up. Just as importantly, if you subscribe to the channel, which helps me immensely. I would really appreciate if you did that. Costs you nothing. Helps me a ton. And if you want notifications, hit the little bell down there at the bottom somewhere, and you'll get notifications every time I put up a brand new video. This is a video I recorded a while ago with Alan Mingo, who plays Lola in Kinky Boots on the Norwegian Encore, and he's played it on Broadway. He's played it in Canada. He's played Lola for years and years and years. That role is his own, and it was an amazing show to watch. If you ever get a chance to see Kinky Boots, please go see it, especially if Alan's in it. It's a great performance. I got a chance to sit down and talk with him on the Norwegian Encore. We chatted about him on Broadway, about the stuff he does for Doom Patrol, about his career, about acting. It's a pretty in-depth conversation about being an actor that I had a ton of fun doing, and I hope you guys enjoy. So sit back, relax, and watch my interview with Alan Mingo.
Price and Son proudly presents Lola's Kinky Boots.
I felt like this Lola was mine with this company. We were creating it together.
Learning to belong.
It's amazing how many people stop me in the street. What's really weird is instead of people saying great show or great job, a lot of people say thank you.
All right, man. So you're doing... well, let's start with it. Where are you from originally? Let's start with that.
Originally from New Jersey.
Okay.
The suburbs of Philadelphia, Burlington County. Then moved out to D.C. to finish high school, and then moved out to California once I graduated from college.
Where'd you live in California?
Irvine. So Orange.
Dude, you went Orange County? Nice.
And I loved it before I knew what I was in for. It's just beautifully manicured lawns.
Oh, it's amazing.
I mean, you have Laguna Niguel.
Yeah.
Beautiful views. So I thought I was living the life.
Yeah. I lived in Tustin for a while, but I lived in San Clemente and ran a restaurant in Laguna.
Wow.
Yeah. And
how was that?
I mentioned it was good for a while. Early on when I first moved to LA, I was in the pizza business. I worked for Little Caesars. Mm-hmm. And eventually I ran all the Little Caesars over there in the West Coast. So I ran all the way from San Clemente up to LA, like 13 stores.
Oh wow!
Yeah, but I was 22 and it was just too much. I couldn't handle it. But I spent a ton of time in Orange County.
Love it.
It's like it's everything. It is Orange County.
It's the perfect sort of suburban life.
Oh, it's the movie. It's the TV version.
It really is. Little Stepford Wives like this.
Totally, exactly. Yeah. You go to the mall and stuff. You're like,
oh my god,
it's creepy. You're like,
it's like 3 malls conjoined in one, and Newport Beach.
Yeah,
yeah.
And that beach life. Yeah, we used to do the bars scene down there on the piers in Newport and stuff. And Newport is where we used to hang in Huntington.
Yeah,
just,
Huntington Beach. Yeah.
It was crazy. There was a couple bars I watched football there.
Yeah.
But it was a good time. How long did you stay out there?
My program was 3 years. I kind of did 2.5 of it. And then I actually went off to rent. So they let me go early and write my dissertation on the road while touring. So
were you in school in Irvine?
Yeah, I was getting my master's in acting. Thought I was going to be a classical actor, Moliere, Shakespeare.
Wow.
Training that way, thinking I was going to, back in the day, you could get hired at a, regional playhouse and they would hire like 12 actors that will play out their whole season.
Sure, right.
So I kind of thought that was my thing.
Like
and
a
then-
Steppenwolf thing.
Yeah,
Chicago's-
exactly. So I thought was going to be my path. I had no idea Broadway is even really anything for me until like in my last year, someone made me audition for Rent, and I'm like, what is this crap?
Someone made you audition for it?
Yeah, one of my classmates, he was a second year while I turned to third year. He's like, have you heard this soundtrack? And they played the soundtrack as we're driving 45 minutes to LA to an audition. And it was weird because they were looking for people who didn't have any theater experience, who could sing, but it didn't have to be, traditional musical theater.
Right.
And the opening number was just very rock, guitars, slamming every 5 seconds. And I'm like, what am I going into? I get to the audition and the lines around the block. It just didn't gel with what I thought I was going to be doing.
Right.
And they literally type you out like, yeah, you, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And then eventually I got a call back, and then I got a job on the first national tour, and my school was like, you better go. So they then said, get out, write your dissertation on the road.
That's awesome. Hang on.
Yeah.
I'm moving this camera over
Sure.
because I don't want to shot anymore.
But I loved Irvine. So I didn't get to visit the school before I got there. I sort of accepted it, figuring, well, it's close to LA, 45 minutes outside of LA. So let me give it a chance. And I got there and fell in love. So to leave was kind of hard, but I was excited also.
Well, you were going back. Well, you're going to New York, though, right?
Well, the tour, I was going to join them in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
But once I got into the show, realizing, there are roles for me on Broadway, that I probably need to go back to the East Coast.
There's actually work here.
Yeah.
Dude, it's funny in the entertainment when you start out with acting and stuff. You have a vision of what you want to do, and then you start doing it, and then it just goes
Takes you on its own path. Its own path.
Yeah, but if you follow it, like I was, like my daughters are now. I just had a conversation with my daughter 20 minutes ago. It was the best conversation ever. I was convinced when she was a little kid she was going to be a producer. I used to teach acting to kids and improv and stuff.
Yeah.
My youngest is an actress. The oldest is production direction.
Mm-hmm.
And my oldest went from acting to improv to all these things. And now she's in college. She's like, Dad, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a producer. So she talked to her professor about what classes to take for that.
Yeah.
And I knew she was going to head that direction.
Yeah.
But it was funny because a few years ago she was freaked out about not knowing exactly what path she was going to take.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's kind of part of the excitement. In a way, I'm 56. I miss that energy of the where are we going?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just jump on board, and then you follow the path, and it's so rewarding every step of the way. As long as you're enjoying the path, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't. I'm a control freak, so it was hard to get on that bus.
Oh,
But
right.
once I
to
learned,
break your original phone.
yeah, like this is what I'm doing. Why are you trying to make me do something that I don't want to do? But then when you start getting on the bus and enjoying the ride, it's really, really exciting. And I'm kind of with you. Looking back, going, oh, I could have enjoyed it so much more because I was still trying to hold on.
Right.
Figuring what I wanted.
That's I talked to when I started doing ships. I've been doing ships about 8 years, and when I got on ships, I came out of a path when I was in LA and I was acting a lot. I wasn't doing much stand up. But when I got on ships, I fell back in love with stand up again. So this is back in my late 40s.
Yeah.
So I started going to open mics in LA again and seeing these young comics, and these guys were living in my 20s. I lived in my car and just rode the road. And sometimes you look at that and you go, wow, I really miss, sometimes you miss that energy.
Yeah.
The unpredictability maybe not so much. But,
Yeah, stability I like.
the stability helps.
But you also go back and go, oh, but I could enjoy that so much more. I
Yeah.
could have been more laid back knowing that my career is going to take me on its own journey.
Right.
And I didn't have to hold on to, really, really tight.
Right, and you just trust and go where you want to go. My thing was always like I tell the kids, as long as you're finding a way to make money, living in your art that you love, then you'll be okay. Follow that path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's huge.
For me, I had the producer side of my mind, so I was always trying to figure out how do theaters make money, how does the entertainment make money, and then I fell into real estate in my first tour, and I just put all my money into real estate investing.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So I, right after Rent, I threw all my money and I bought a triplex in West LA.
Okay.
And then I bought a triplex in Philadelphia where family was, and then I bought a duplex,
Oh my
brownstone
God, dude,
in
that
New
is
York.
brilliant.
So in a way, because I couldn't tell where my path was going, I figured, well, at least I can get income
Yeah.
from my renters and not freak out when I have to go to my next audition and
Right.
kind of like, I need this. Do you know what I mean?
It's
just to make me feel calm.
No, I've done every bullshit side gig you can think of because I didn't do that.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? But I knew buddies. I got buddies that bought houses in their 20s. My oldest is talking about buying property now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's the smartest thing. That's a
Smartest
great
thing
move.
I've done.
And then, man, when I was going through my divorce, I went through a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And my auditions were that much more intense because I'm like,
Yes,
if
I
I don't
need-
book this, I'm
Right.
fucking screwed.
Right.
So to have that go, well, if I don't book it, I'll just go to the next audition.
Yeah. It was more like it made me feel calmer to say you're going to take what I'm giving.
Yeah.
And then if you don't take me, that's okay. I still can survive.
Right.
And even in college, I was asking, how much are people paying rent in LA? How much are people paying? How can I get this? And as a student, you don't really know. But I would ask those questions. And then once I was making enough money in rent, you were like, okay, let me just put all this money, because I was this, young kid, didn't, all this income for a single man. I just was, let me just put it in rental income.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing in my life. So as things would change in my life, I'm sell a property, put it somewhere else. So I had that going for me so that I wouldn't freak out at every audition. I was a little calmer. Now, there are times you still freak out.
Of course.
But I didn't have to worry about survivability, if that makes sense.
No, it makes complete sense coming from the same background, just the other route. I mean,
Yeah.
I put all my money into tequila and Coke. That's where my money went. So I didn't really think ahead. So to have that, and then also, as you said something really significant in that statement, this has come up 4 times this week, going into an audition and showing what you can give to the part. There's a great Bryan Cranston video I mentioned a lot on YouTube when he won an Emmy, and he explained what his job was. And his job was to go in there, to do that. Go in there, here's what I have to offer for this role, and then when you leave, that's it, you're done.
Yeah, and it took me a while to get there, but I was sort of trying to place the building blocks so that I can get comfortable in that. I mean, I would say the pandemic has actually taught me that. I thought I had that locked down. Sort of, I go in, give you what I have, and leave and forget about it. But the pandemic actually made me sort of narrow down and going, you're not just what you do. And it took me a while. And you have kids, and so I'm sure you've already had that sort of realization. But as a single man who's only been doing this, it was hard to separate what I do from who I am.
Right.
And the pandemic sort of siphoned that out for me to get to understand that even though I'm not getting up doing my acting or singing every day, that I'm more than just what I do.
Well, the pandemic lasting as long as it did, I think, had a lot to do with that.
Sure.
With my identity, I identified as 2 things, as a father and then as a comedian. And then, so I was home with my kids, and that helped. But when the comedian thing went, I've been doing comedy 34 years now, you started to really think, all right, what am I going to do now? I may not be able to go back to do that.
Yeah.
And you have to seriously address that. And for a guy, after 30 years in your 50s, you're like, I have no...
This is what I do.
This is it. This is the package. And then you start thinking, well, with 2 kids, I'm like, well, how much money can I make doing this? And how much money am I going to make in the next 20 years or whatever?
Yeah.
But the pandemic really taught you to look inside yourself and really redefine yourself as a human being, I think.
Yeah. Well, for me, I felt everyone was tiptoeing through it. It's only going to be a 3-month break.
Right.
Okay, it's only going to be a 6-month break.
Everybody is the same. The beginning was like, oh, well, by fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I fell into the whole, I knew something was going to be, this was going to be bigger. I could not imagine it was going to be this long. But when they were like 3 months, I'm going, but no one's explaining how we get out of this mess.
Yeah.
No one's really saying, they just keep saying, go buy all your toiletries and your toilet paper and hot dogs and tuna fish now, as if a hurricane was coming. And I was one of those idiots, I shouldn't say idiots, but I was one of those people who got in line during a pandemic, face to someone's neck to get in line to get my tuna fish. And I'm going, but why are we all doing this for something that we know is going to last longer, but we're acting like we're going to be out of it in 3 months.
Right.
There's a good thing and a bad thing about that. If someone said you're going to be out for 18 months, I think we all would have just freaked out.
Yeah, you're right.
I know I would
100%.
have. I would have. But I also knew when they
You're
said...
stable. There's people out there that are unstable. If you told them 18 months, it would have been a crime wave. I mean...
Oh, people jumping out of windows.
Yes.
I mean, it would have been really... It would have
Yeah.
been really bad, especially in New York City. It was kind of rough.
Yeah.
But I kind of knew in the back of my mind, if you're not telling me how we're getting out of this, then this is going to last longer than you're saying.
Right.
But the tiptoeing in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, okay, a year, okay, next Christmas. When they kept doing that, it sort of made me go, all right, this is going to be longer, and I could just relax and and be comfortable with doing nothing.
Right.
And that was okay with me.
Yeah, I think it was until August. I think it was maybe August around that time that that settled into my head. Because my thing, it wasn't so much that I thought they weren't telling us how long it was going to be. I really thought they didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Well,
I mean, as time went by, it changed every week, and you're like, that's the opposite of what you said 7 days ago.
Exactly.
You know, and then I'm like, you're our leaders. What the hell?
What the hell's going on?
Yeah, and then then they started changing the CDC, and then I thought, well, now they're lying to us in certain degrees because they don't want us to panic.
Right.
And even then, I was like, I can kind of understand that because there's people that would panic.
Sure. But part of you wanted to say, usually people who don't really want to know are not seeking out the knowledge. Do you know what I mean? They want to have the blinders on.
Sure.
But when you realize that you feel like people are lying to you or parsing information to you, you're like, can you just give me the real deal?
Yeah.
I mean, remember in the beginning, they were like, no need for masks.
Right.
Then it was like, you can just wear a bandana or just a piece of cloth
Just a
over
shirt.
your...
Yes.
And then you can go surgical mask. And they're like, well, then that's not enough. Go get a, N95. But the nurses need that. So get the KN95. It just kept changing. You're going... Just tell me the real deal.
Just tell me what you want to do.
Just tell me the real deal.
For a long time, like we were in LA for that.
Yeah.
And we were strict there. Were you in New York for most of it?
I was in New York, and we handled it pretty well. My problem is I had a dog, so I'm walking the streets 3 to 4 times a day, and you were just brushing against people all the time. And it took them a while to get into the I think 3 months in, everyone got the mask idea. But in the beginning, we all were just walking around maskless, getting in line for our tuna fish and hot dogs and stuff. And I sort of kicked myself going, during a pandemic, that's the last thing we needed to do. We didn't have a shortage of food, but they made it sound like a hurricane's coming. When like a big storm comes on the East Coast, everyone buys all their stuff really, really quick.
Right.
Go home, ride out the storm.
Right.
And at least if your utilities go down or if people can't deliver food, then at least you're okay for 2 weeks or so. But we were sort of preparing like that, and it just seemed ridiculous.
Yeah.
In a pandemic.
Yeah, when I came, it was March 15th. I was on a ship when the shutdown happened. They sent me home. I flew. I was lucky. I was one of the lucky ones.
You got out.
Because they told me the day before, they go, we're going to Nassau. I'm like, okay. And then they call me, no, we're not. And we're going home. Okay. And they go, you got to book your own flight. Good luck. I'll talk to you later. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh.
All right. So right away, I get online right away. And I managed to booked a flight, a nonstop from Miami to LA. I mean, I was home within 7 hours. So I got lucky. But when I got home, we had already been a week or two into what was going on.
Yeah.
My brother picked me up at the airport. And there's a Ralph's right by the LAX there. And he goes, I got to get some water. And I go in, and man, it's like Hunger Games in there. It is. And I look at my brother, and I'm just walking into this.
Right
off the ship.
So you're sort of blind to what's really going on until you see it.
Yeah, and I look at him, I go, dude, what the... here's the thing is, we were out of food, but I called it... It was a shortage, but it was an LA shortage.
Right.
So my brother needed water, and we walked into an aisle. There's a bunch of water. I go, "There's water right here." He said, "No, that water's bullshit. I need other water." And I go, "Well, then you don't really need water." Right. And he looks at me. He looks at me, and grabs me by the shoulders, and goes, "You have no idea what's going on back here right now." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, okay." And people are running around with bags of stuff.
Yeah.
And I got a cart, and I'm like, I need some food. And I walk down the aisle, like, "Oh, here's some beans. Here's some rice, whatever's on the shelf." I'm like, okay, I can eat this. I can eat this.
I can deal with that.
I can eat this. I'm good. And I'm standing waiting for my brother, who's running around looking for water and freaking out. And people are just shoving. I mean, it was insane.
Yeah, it was a little crazy.
Yeah, right at the beginning when people started losing their shit.
Were they wearing masks at that point?
No, they weren't wearing masks at that point. Some were, some weren't. Some it was still voluntary.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were.
Yeah.
And my brother wasn't. Yeah. And then shortly after that came the whole you should wear masks thing. And then I was home and didn't do anything for a few months. And then I started doing Uber Eats to make a living.
Yes.
So I drove around and delivered food to people in the middle of the night who didn't have a mask on. That was nice.
I'm sure. Were you able to leave it at the door, or did you have to?
There was a lot of leave it at the door, which made it a little bit easier. So you just walk up, leave it, hit the thing and walk.
Yeah.
But then people would freak. Like if somebody would get to the point where they'd come out and I was still there, they would freak, slam the door. And I'm like, I felt like a leper. You know what I mean? Everywhere I went, they're yelling from inside the door. You can hear that muffled, "That's for the food." I'm like, see you later. You know?
Wow.
And then you just drive around all night delivering food.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Yeah,
and we had this whole, if I hear Alicia Keys' New York one
The
more
New York
time.
song.
By the way, I love Alicia
I know,
Keys,
yeah.
but
I love the song too. But after
hearing it every day
yeah.
at 6 o'clock with banging things and then
Yeah,
everyone
the
screaming
pops.
at the top of their lungs, while it was a wonderful gesture, I think New York held on to it a little too long, where it
I
was
know.
like, somehow I'm always on the phone when it's happening, where you're like, hold on, I need like 5 minutes because it's going to be a concert
Right.
outside.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful feeling in the beginning, but again, I think we did it maybe a day or two too long.
Well, I think even the medical staff was like, "We get it. We're
Yeah,
good.
thank
Can
you guys. Thank
please
you.
put the pots away."
Yeah, please. Yeah, it's a lot. When we live all on top of each other, it just became a lot. So other than walking my dog, I don't cook.
Really?
So I deliver.
Oh, did you get delivery and stuff?
You know what? Because as a kid, I cooked for the family.
Oh, right.
I was a single mother, a younger brother, and so she worked. My mother was going to school to get her second degree and working full time. So she's like, "Here are the recipes,
Right.
and you go at it."
Right.
So when I got to college and then grad school, I'm like, I'm not picking up
Oh, that's funny.
anything.
See, I went the other route. My
Did
mom,
you?
I had 4 brothers.
Yeah.
Single mom. And she worked 70, 80 hours a week. So I would come home and make dinner every night.
So you did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did all the cooking.
And so now, well, you also
now I
have.
love cooking.
I can't stand it.
I went into restaurants before stand-up.
Right.
I did that for a while.
Yeah.
And that's why I ended up in restaurants. I walked right in. But I make everything. Now my daughter likes to cook, so we cook together.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we always I miss it on ships, man. That's the one thing I miss the most on the ships is 5 weeks. And usually when I go home and I'm home for a week,
Yeah.
I will cook every day. I'll like make stew and then freeze it and make a steak.
Yeah.
And so,
I
but I love
so
cooking.
didn't want to do that. And that's the one thing I look forward to coming on the ship. And I was contacted a week before everything closed down. I was supposed to fly on the 17th and everything shut down on the 15th. And I was like looking forward to like, oh, I don't have to Uber anything. I don't have to.
Yeah.
It's all planned. I just go and get what I want when I'm hungry.
Yeah, there's a huge plus with that ship life thing when you just go up and eat whenever you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't have to clean your room or do, you know what I mean? I mean,
No
that's.
dishes.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that coming back. Yeah, no dishes. Is a
Yeah,
big, like
yeah,
I love
no
cooking.
cleaning,
It's
right.
the dishes that suck.
Yeah.
That's why I have kids.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, they do the dishes. That's the deal. Daddy made dinner.
Then you clean up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you on what happened when the shutdown came? Were you on a ship or?
No, I actually left the ship. I was supposed to be on the ship until March. Sometime in January, I'm shooting a show called Doom Patrol on HBO Max.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so I had to finish 3 more. They let me go in December for a couple of weeks, come back for Christmas and New Year's. And then I was supposed to go back to do 1 week, but they extended it for another 2 and possibly 3. And the ship was like, okay, let's just bring in the Lola replacement, cut your contract early, and you'll just come in 2 weeks
Okay.
later on. So I'm like, great. So I was home in New York watching the news as this stuff is coming down the pipeline and hearing the news and talking to my friends on the ship who had no idea
Yeah.
what was headed their way.
Right. Yeah.
The Lola who was replacing me decided to quit the week before. I guess people were calling him saying, there's something coming.
just
You
wanted out.
probably need to get out for health reasons. So they called me and I was excited because I left my cast and I made wonderful friendships. And it was my first contract and I didn't realize how much I was missing everyone and just meeting all artists, fellow artists to talk about art that I probably would never sort of meet
Yeah.
doing 8 shows a week. So I was excited to come back on. I got the call, had the bags packed, ready. And then on Friday the 15th, was it Friday?
Yeah. Well, that was the weekend, the 15th.
Yeah,
was the
and I was
mid-March.
due to be on the 17th on that Sunday.
Yeah.
They said we're all canceled. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you mentioned something a second ago. One of the things I love about the ships, I was looking forward to coming back to this ship, especially on this particular run or on these runs. One of the reasons I love doing this podcast is there's so many different artists from so many different backgrounds, and we all kind of attract to each other on some level. You know what I mean?
Automatically.
Right. If it was normal, there's a crew party. Usually, you'd be with the other people.
The people you know. Yeah.
You comics, everybody. You end up with that same group of people.
Yeah.
So to be with them for like 7, I'm only here for like 6 weeks or whatever. But
Yeah.
you guys for 9 months.
Yeah.
You get close with those people. It's cool. It's cool because even if you're doing your art back home, that doesn't necessarily always happen. You know.
Yeah.
Life happens.
Sure.
You
You finish your job, you go home, you
Yeah.
may have a drink or two with someone, but like you said, it's normally someone within your clique.
Sure.
you don't get to fellowship with the artists. Like, I mean, I think I caught you and two other comics sitting, talking on the ship, and I just enjoyed listening to your banter as you guys are going at each other, trying new material. I'm like, when will I ever be in a situation where I would get to see that?
Yeah. It's fun hanging with the other, like JP, the musician.
Yeah.
We have a tendency, a lot of ball busting is going on the last couple of weeks.
Right.
It's been intense. And Spencer left, so it was more intense when he was here.
Yeah.
But it's been fun. It's usually a lot of fun. And also it's the other way around. There's been times when I worked with a comic that I am
like,
not a fan of. And I'm like, oh, look, it's Larry. Hey, Larry, what's up?
Right.
That's when I'm like, I got a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
I can't make it out tonight.
But when I saw you guys, you look like y'all loved each other's work, loved each other's artistry, and you guys were just chilling out, but then going at each other. It was, it's a show that no one else will ever get to see.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing. That's what's great about being on the ship. It's just hanging out with everybody that way.
Yeah,
and it's so cool. And I found a whole new appreciation for all levels of artists, especially Broadway and dancers and people on the stage. You know, that's just the market for that like there's comedy clubs in every city. There's a lot of traveling. Yeah. So when I see people on the ships getting to perform and dance and do what they really want to do, what they love to do, it's cool to watch. So that's why I'll go watch every show. Yeah. And check them out. It's cool. It's very cool.
I love how you also told me. So you're opening on Monday. We are?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Also on the ship, sometimes I have more information than you. I didn't even know that. And you're like, oh, we're opening Monday.
I'm like, well, thank you. You're the first person to tell me that's when we're opening. I
felt pretty good about that.
That was awesome.
I'm like, hey, Chris, did you hear it? You're like, yes, I heard. That's good. Yeah. You ever know these schedule changes and stuff? Everything's changing.
Every day. And I know now it's really changing all the time. But I mean, that's, again, I came back after my experience on the first one, which was an install, which was, that was rough.
Right.
Just sort of going to Germany to pick up the ship. It's not quite done. No carpet on the floor, no signs anywhere. And I thought they brought me on the ship around 1:00, and it was actually my birthday.
Oh, wow.
I went to our sort of manager's office, and he goes, okay, so you can find your way to your room. I'm like thinking it's like a hotel. Of course I'm going to find my room. It would have my room number on it, right? And my deck is 7-1.
Yeah, good luck with that one. It's one hidden area.
Oh my God! Yeah. In the front. So I'm now in the middle, or sort of near the front, but in the middle of the ship, thinking, well, 7-1 comes after 7, right? Like it would go
right. You logically
6-7, 7-1.
Of course.
So it took me about 3 a.m. to actually find my room.
Yeah.
Because it's hidden somewhere.
Right.
And no room numbers to sort of like, these are the rooms over the, these are the 7s, these are the 7-2s. On my room, it had my number, but I had to go through a maze of just find it.
The only way to find the number is to be in the hallway.
Right.
That's it.
If you find the hallway.
If you can get to the hallway, exactly.
So 3 a.m, I think I finally got my hallway going. I don't know if I can do this. I don't.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's rough.
Because when you first get on, I remember my first contract, they just hand you your paperwork and they send you on your way. And you're like, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And then it's an adventure. Like, where's the laundry room? Where's all this other stuff? Once you figure out the back doors and hallways to everything, you're fine.
It's great once you know it, but in the beginning, it's so overwhelming. It's like a floating city. Yeah. Especially this big ship. It is a floating city.
Right.
So if you're stuck somewhere in the middle of the ship on your first day.
And they have some cabins that they're in guest areas, but they're buried behind the guest area.
Yes.
And there's a little door, and it doesn't say "come in here for crew." It says like "keep out," and you open the door, and you're like, "Oh, there's a whole city back here."
Yes, exactly. And we didn't have all the placards on the door, so you opened every door. Sometimes you open to a closet, and you're like,
"That's true."
You know what I mean? You're like, "What?"
You see equipment, you're like, "Wow!" You slam the door, like, "I don't think I should be in there."
Or fire locker. You're like, "But it looks like a door." It took me about a month to sort of like, okay, I know my path. But even coming up here, I was like, okay, well, how do I get to your room?
Yeah, I screwed up. I don't know how. When I was downstairs on 5, and then they go, "You're upstairs," and I go, "Where's that?" He goes, "I'm pretty sure it's on the port side." I go, "Oh, okay, cool." So I go up to the port side, and I look at the numbers. I start walking where I think logically it's going to be. I get all the way to the aft, the back end, and then it hits me. I go, and I think of then from being on ships, I remember. I go, that's got to be at the very front of the ship. And sure enough, I walked all the way up starboard, and then you find it. I'm at the very front.
Right.
So I literally, with my luggage, also walking got my extra, and I'm changing room, so it's not like I just checked in. So I got clothes on a hanger. I got a bag of stuff I bought from the mart, and then I got my suitcase and my backpack. just waddling through.
Headed to the wrong side of the ship.
To the wrong side of the ship.
And you realize everyone has an opinion about where you should be and how you should get there. And you're like,
everyone's exactly. No one gives you proper help.
No
right?
one.
Yeah. And sometimes they look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
It's, it's 7-1. It's floor 7-1. I know that. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. And before you get on the ship, I don't know port and starboard. I don't. So, is that the left or the right? Just tell me.
Yeah, it take even now, and then I was gone 18 months, so there's some stuff I forgot.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh crap, that's right, I got it. Blah blah blah.
Whatever.
So it starts to come back to you, but I'm taking notes as I go along.
Yeah,
I'm going, I forgot this, and I forgot this, and I forgot that.
Yeah.
So, how long? Let's talk about Kiki Boots a little bit.
Sure.
How much can we talk about? I don't know. We can talk about it.
I mean, yeah, anything,
dude. I love the show. I've seen it twice now. I saw the tech.
Yeah,
and I saw the fourth show. Yeah, and it's a beautiful show.
Oh, thank you.
I am dying to take my daughters to see this show.
Oh, I think they would love it.
They both would love it. They love the arts. They love acting.
Yeah.
My youngest daughter Lily is really into drag queens and RuPaul and that performance level
she
stuff.
really love it. Yeah.
She loves makeup. She's really deeply involved in that stuff.
Yeah.
This show's made for her to watch and see.
Oh yeah.
And the message behind the show is beautiful. It's a great show.
Sure. And if you take away the drag queens and all that, it's about not living up to the people who raised you, their expectations all the time. Sometimes you let your parents down and how you want to sort of on your own path.
Yeah.
And sometimes everyone's not ready to hear that, and the disappointment when you sort of discover yourself and realize,
yeah,
I love you, but this is what
it's okay.
to do.
Yeah, it's okay to have a different path.
Yeah,
it's okay not to do exactly what they want you to do because you're your own person.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a great message. That's something I've tried to, as a parent, I try to teach my kids that, I want them to do whatever they want. My youngest wants to be a stand-up, which makes me cry.
For you, you're like, no.
Well, I had this conversation. My ex is like, I hate you because she wants to be a stand-up.
Yeah.
I go, I know. Well, hopefully. But we have a conversation. There's a guy named Mark Gross. He's a writer in L.A., and he works with Chuck Lorre. He just produces. He's a exec producer. He does very, very well.
Yeah.
His daughter wants to be a writer. And he's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
And his daughter and my daughter say the same thing. They go, yeah, but you're always working. I go, yeah, but I'm kind of lucky. I work hard and I built a career, but I got a lot of friends and it wasn't an easy path.
Sure.
And, so you don't want them to go down that road, but I'm like, whatever you want to do, it's totally up to you. I'll never tell her she can't do something.
Well, that's good. And a lot of parents don't necessarily do
100%.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Especially from our generation. You're probably younger than me, but my generation was the parents told you, it was just what I said so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you just listened.
Yeah. And God forbid if they actually ran a company or a business.
Oh God, I can't imagine that
you were
pressure.
going to be doing that.
A family business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is the shoes business.
Exactly.
Perfect example.
Exactly.
Because if you don't carry it on, no one will. And then it's a whole a lot of pressure to put on your kid.
Yeah.
And
as they're being born, you have these dreams and aspirations that you want for your children. And when you realize they're different, a whole human being of their own with their own ideas.
Yeah.
And although you may have had struggles sort of in your career, they don't see it the same way.
No, they don't.
Or that's not going to be a problem for me. Dad did it.
I know. Yeah, they always. And it's funny because, I understand adversity and I understand they will get through it. You know what I mean? They will figure it out.
Yeah.
But you don't want them to have to struggle in certain areas.
Yeah.
So when they pick something difficult, you're like,
yeah. Okay, I'm good.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
Just do your thing.
Yeah.
But that's why I want them to see the show. I think it's a great message to teach kids, and that's not something I've ever had a problem with my kids. My goal when I had kids, I think, is probably because during their development years, I was going through a lot of therapy. It was after my divorce, and I changed a lot as a person.
Yeah.
So my goal was just to let them grow up to be the best people they can be, and they want to be.
Yeah.
And I've always been cool with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can't say my parents were like that, but there's a lot of people who are, who really like to control their children in a different way. And again, I'm not a parent, so I can't tell.
Right.
But I know my mother didn't want me to go into this. She was like, are you crazy?
Sure. Yeah, I bet.
Are you kidding me?
Especially if they don't come from it, they don't understand any of it.
Sure. And they don't know anyone who's done it. So therefore it makes it harder. They can't see until they wind up seeing you in things like this. They're going, oh, I guess you can do it. I'm like, well, I've been doing it for 25 years.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's an illusion to them because they just see it on TV, and to them it's a big fantasy.
Yeah.
Like even when my first couple of TV gigs, my friends call me and they're like, "Wow, you must be set, dude. You're living in the hills now?" I go, "No, I am not living in the hills."
No, right.
There's a whole level of blue collar actor. I go, that's
Yes,
kind of me,
yeah,
where I'm just trying. You're hustling. You're constantly.
Yeah.
You're lucky to you get a 7-month contract, but you're still thinking, what's going after that?
Yeah, yeah. And especially, well, theater kind of people, they either think you're dirt poor. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, there's no. You're right. There's no.
I have an aunt who's always sending me $25 to this day, and I love her. I love her. Yeah. She thinks you're dirt poor, or they see you on TV or on a film. They're like, "Oh my God!" Like you said, you made it, and you're like, "No." So it's a hustle. It's like you said, blue collar. I'm just working from one gig to the next. Some pay more money, some don't. When you get a long contract, you're a little bit more stable than others. But I also knew like I said, my first tour, I'm like, let me put this money away before I have a family or anything else, because I will just spend it.
Yeah, you're so smart.
Yeah,
I didn't do any of that. I have no retirement. I don't know. I'm going to be doing ships till I'm 75.
Well, the ships, when I got on my first contract, I'm like, oh, I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I always wanted to do a cruise ship, just in a musical review, just something, because I've never done it, while I'm touring and stuff. I'm like, that just seems like fun, getting to travel and doing what you love and vacationing,
Yeah.
So when I was approached to do this, and I was only going to be in 3 months on, 3 months off for 5 years, I'm like, all right, I can do this.
Right.
Yeah.
So Doom Patrol, man, are you leaving here in a while to go shoot that, or?
They just got a 4th season.
Nice.
So,
Congrats.
Thanks. And they shot The Pandemic without me just because they're trying to keep everyone local. So I don't know what's next.
Are they in LA?
They're shooting in Atlanta.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I've done season 1 and season 2. Really wonderful character. I play a character named Morally Corrupt.
Okay.
Who's an ex-agent.
Morally Corrupt?
Morally Corrupt.
That's a great.
Yeah. Wonderful drag name.
Sure.
I wish I would have thought of it first.
Yeah, right. How cool is that? Is it a drag queen?
He was an agent who was coming to kill this entity.
Okay.
And fell in love with this entity called Danny the Street, a sentient being that sort of teleports in any place.
Okay.
So I'm sort of like the, not the heart of Danny, but like the physical manifestation of what the character represents.
Okay.
Because it's sort of, it was the street. It actually it was an alley. It sort of this being. And so I fell in love. The character was an agent, again, trying to destroy it, and fell in love with it being open to all people, love and happiness. And then I found my drag name and called myself Morally Corrupt after my last career. And so they bring me on to sort of, to be the sort of the heart of Danny, which is wonderful. To fall in love with a character that you're like, is kind of like Lola.
Yeah.
But I'm a sci-fi geek. I'm a gamer, so to be part of the DC universe is just like a dream come true.
That's very cool.
Never thought I would be doing anything like that.
That's badass, man.
Yeah.
Congrats. That's a cool thing where you're like,
like this is it.
People like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Singing for the people like us, the people like us.
Also, it's a great character for you to play, because one of the things I noticed when you play Lola, you do such a fantastic job layering underneath what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think, and we've had several people who play Lola. I think my training as a classical actor has really informed me with this role. I mean, I would say most of my career, if I look back, a lot of my Broadway shows were animals, like Simba, Sebastian the Crab, Donkey, and Shrek.
Donkey, yeah.
So, where I can bring on my training, but this one allowed me to sort of like really get into the character. I mean, at times I get lost where it's hard to, once you go deep into a character sometimes, while while the next number may be happy and joyous, it's sometimes hard to pop back in it because you go so deep.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
Or some days people are like, in rehearsal, especially with this new cast, they don't really necessarily know the process other than trying to get it up and running.
Sure.
I would sing something like Hold Me in Your Heart, and like for the next half hour in rehearsal, I'm just down. I'm just sort of, it just took a lot out of me.
Sure, right.
And they're like, are you okay? Are you all right? And I'm like, I'm fine. It's just, it's hard to shake her loose sometimes.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know 100%. We did, I worked on ER and the scene, I worked with Aida Totoro as my wife. I did a couple episodes, and she was dying. And at the end, she decides just to give up and not fight. Yeah. So we spent a whole day shooting. And ER did one shots for everyone. So it was one shots, group shots. So we did the whole speech. She did the whole speech. At some point, we're all sitting in the break room, like it's a real hospital at Warner Brothers. And we're all just like, you're looking at each other. You can't talk. You're wiped. I mean, it's just, you're so fucking drained. Went home and went to bed, cried. You know what I mean? It was just totally messed up.
Yeah. And then you understand how some actors will take on roles and they get into it almost too deep and can't pull themselves out. And they may go through a little depression. Or
drugs or whatever. Some sort of bad problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, and as a kid looking at it from Hollywood's perspective, and you see people go on these things or binges or whatever, I didn't quite understand until you're getting a piece of work in front of you where you're like, oh my God, who can live in that depression?
Right.
I mean, 8 hours, and how do you let it go? No one tells you how to get out.
As a kid, or like we were talking about people that watch it on TV or watch what you're doing, and even when I was a kid, you just think it's acting, and you go, well, you're just acting. But then when you start performing, you understand you're not just acting.
No, you're in
You
it.
become that character. I mean, you're deep in.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't just pretend to be sad. You're like destroyed. You know what I mean? And then when you come out of it, you're like, oh, cheesecake. And
you can't. And no, we always teach you how to get in. Yeah. And to get into the role, but no one really teaches you how to back up out of it.
Right. Well, I think that's hard because I think everybody's got their own process.
That's true, but there's no. At least give me two options
There's
of
be
how
some sort of
technique,
structural. You're right. You know what I mean? Do this, take a deep breath, whatever it is. Empty your head, clear, meditate, whatever it is.
Yes, whatever it is. But again, at least when we talk about getting into a role, there are different techniques on how to get into a role.
Sure.
Everyone just forgets, well, how do you get out? Something like Kinky Boots, the next number after my 11 o'clock number is the finale. So that gets you out where we're sort of shitting glitter.
Sure.
You know what I mean? We're just like happy.
Sure.
You know what I mean? All this beautiful, right.
Moment, right.
And so it'll pop you out.
Sure.
A show like Rent, where I played Collins, and when Angel dies and I sing that big number, the final number of the show is sort of like loving and embracing your community, but it's still quite sad.
Right.
So there are times I would leave that show and everybody's partying, and I'm like, I just can't
That's
get out of this funk.
Rap party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was always a rock star type party. That would bring some people out, but living in that moment, the director would kind of go, if you got to cry, you cry. If you have to sit there and put your head down, you do that. And so it was sometimes hard, especially my first one, learning how to get out of that funk.
Right.
Or knowing how to tap dance. So just touch the emotion of the character, but not go too deep that I can't yank that cord and pull me back out.
Right. Well, that was our thing during ER too, because we all cried during the scene, but you had to save the real pain for the one shot.
Yeah.
So I was there and I was I was a co-star.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a huge role.
Yeah.
Aida obviously was a guest star, special guest star.
Yeah.
And then Mindy was in it, who was the lead doctor on that.
Yeah.
So they get the main shot. So they get all the coverage. So, but I'm there for every scene to go through the speech, and you got to go just far enough to be emotional for them. But what was I thought was really cool, for their credit, when we shot my stuff, they stayed.
They were still there.
Yeah,
that's when you know you got great actors on your team.
Great. They some are like, fuck it, I'm going to the trailer.
I'm out. Yeah.
And they stayed. They were strict. They're like, no, we're staying. We're doing this whole thing. And that's why we were so drained. Minnie was holding my hands afterwards. I mean, it was great. They were there, so we were all there for each other.
Yeah.
So you got to know how much to give on each scene, and then the one where they go, okay, this is all you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you go, okay, great, and then you just let it go.
And because you're at the end, yours the hardest.
I am. Yeah, right. Exactly, because they do theirs.
But you're like, can we switch this around?
Yeah. We take a break. We have coffee, yogurt, come back. You know what I mean? And suddenly, let's get Lenny's shots really quick, and then okay.
Yeah.
And it was pretty. It was significant, man.
Yeah.
Right.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, but it's hard to get there and get out, dude. I don't know how. What's the name of the song you sing? You do with the song about in the men's room, in the bathroom.
Oh, Not My Father's Son.
Not My Father's Son. Man, that's a beautiful song.
And we cut it down because it was just too. It was long enough.
Yeah,
it had another verse. We had to cut it down just to, keep things concise and short. But there are times I break in that song.
I bet.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, I don't know how you do anything after that song. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? That's a heavy. I didn't have that upbringing. Like, my upbringing was a lot different. You know, my dad was gone when I was young. Very young, and my mom and I didn't really get along, so I didn't have a lot of pressure from an adult.
Yeah,
but like we were talking at the beginning of this, if you had that pressure, that song really bears your soul about that.
Yeah, it resonates to a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. But I think everyone has a parent or some sort of figure where they know they aren't living up to what their parents or whoever raised them, their expectations.
Right.
And so it gets me, and mainly at the end when I'm singing to Charlie and there's like a break in the song, there are times I just full on cry, and then I can't. The technical part is I can't sing while I'm crying. I just can't. Some can do it.
Right.
I just can't do it. But the great thing about popping back out of it is the next number we're dancing on treadmills.
Yeah, that's
you know
true.
what I mean?
That's
So,
yeah, right. Yeah.
But when you see me I have a quick change after that. I run off, quick change. I'm literally like crying for someone to give me a towel, so I'm not running makeup all. Everything's so I'm crying.
Everyone should see a backstage of a
oh my God, it's a
production
show
once, where you run off and you're changing and you're half naked, putting on clothes, and now you're crying.
Right, and I have all this makeup, and you're like, I can't have just like mascara running for this next number. And then by the time we're running on, I'm like wiping my eyes so that I'm looking happy, but they're still glassy. But then the number actually pulls me out.
That's great.
Yeah.
What an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And here on the ship, everything is so tight.
Yeah.
It amazes me how we can do that production in a very tight space.
Yeah, your wings
get it done.
It's maybe 8 by 4 feet back there.
Yeah,
Maybe
you see
something
it.
like that.
It's
maybe less.
really tight.
Yeah.
And then because we've shortened it, all of my changes are quick changes. I make 9 changes, shoe as well as outfits.
Right.
On Broadway, there's at most 4 or 5 people on me just throwing things at me: a powder puff, a wig, pants, boots, shoes. And here we're doing it now with 2, and they're making
how many changes you have. I didn't even put that.
Every time I'm off stage, it is a quick change.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah.
Do you ever have somebody? I'm sure you do. I want to ask this question. Has somebody come to you, like from the crowd or a cat that sees the show and has an emotional connection to Not Your Father's Son, or will say something?
Oh yeah,
yeah. And it's a powerful feeling as an artist to feel that you move someone that way.
Yeah, and you know what? I have this conversation with the cast all the time. It's not one. I'm thankful when the women do it. And they're like the glitz and the glamour and the drag queens. But then when they sort of get the real message, or then when I have a straight man who literally talks about my father's son and goes through the whole thing, I didn't live up to my father's expectations.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got it. Through all the glitz and glamour and shit and glitter.
Yep.
You got it. And although all these pieces weren't about something that you may have watched and your wife may have dragged you here, you got the true message. Sure. And you feel great.
Yeah.
You feel great.
Yeah, it's a great feeling.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah.
I even have that. I have that with my stand-up sometimes.
Yeah.
Man. I got a couple of bits about my dad being an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Guys will come to me. I did one bit on a ship. This is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I do a bit about. I used to do a lot of crystal meth back in my 20s.
Yeah.
I do a whole bit about the last time I did meth, which is maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And this guy comes up to me. He's like, "Man, that bit was really good." He goes, "How did you kick it?" And when he was talking to me, I realized he was tweaking. I could tell. Like, oh my God, you're on meth now, aren't you?
Yeah.
He goes, "No." I go, "Yeah, you are." And I sat down with him. We talked for 25 minutes. I go, "This is what I did. This is how I got out of it." And he was concerned that he wanted to, and that was like, I didn't know what to say. You tell them the best you can, but when it comes to drugs, they got to make that decision on their own. And I told him, I was like, "It's up to you, bro. You can beat it, but you got to throw it away. Don't do it, and get out of it."
Yeah.
But to make that connection with an individual through your art, it's almost like it's all worth it. It's really rewarding. You realize
that's why we do it.
You understand how much power you really have. A lot of power, a lot more power. It's not just telling jokes, not just doing a show.
Yeah,
it's connecting with people on an emotional level and sending a message. Like you said, you get it. He does get it.
Yeah, and most of them are coming for escapism to not think about anything, and all of a sudden they get hit in the head. but something that's so small, and they get it, and that's why it's sort of like, this is why I do what I do.
Well, but that's why that's the best kind. That's the most powerful.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it blindsides them.
Yeah,
They don't even know. And
you
all of a
came
sudden
here
it's
just to
like,
have fun. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great feeling.
That's why I say, like, I know a lot of women will like the show because they're also into RuPaul's Drag Race and all those things, and the glitter and the shoes are gorgeous.
Right.
And I appreciate those comments as well. But it's when someone just came in or were dragged in or had no idea what they're getting into, which is great for the ship. In New York, you bought the ticket to see Kinky Boots.
Right.
Someone still may have dragged you, but someone there has bought a ticket to see this
That's a good
specific
point.
show.
Right.
Here, they're just wandering in because it's a show on a ship.
Right.
So when you have conversations outside of, at the local or at the bar, and you're having, and then it hits them over the head, and they weren't ready for it. It's a great feeling.
That's 10 times more powerful. I didn't even think about that aspect of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they always show up. I always think about that on stage. Like, nobody pays to see. First of all, no one's paying to see me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're going into a comedy night on a ship. They're just walking into what's going on now.
Yeah.
Oh, there's nothing but comedy.
Right. So let me just go and see.
Let's go watch comedy. Yeah.
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 That's awesome.
Yeah. And the ship, to me, I didn't realize that was an added bonus until we got on the ship, and I'm realizing, well, there's a lot of people who don't have even the theater etiquette. They just don't necessarily would go here. But in New York, well, someone specifically bought this ticket. Even if they didn't know what the show was about, they went and bought a ticket for Kinky Boots. Mm-hmm. Here, it's free entertainment. They wander in, and when they get a message, whatever that message may be, it just is heartwarming.
Also,
to have conversations
in New York, if you buy tickets for a show, you know the process of going to see a Broadway show. You understand that you go in, you sit down, you watch it. There's intermission, and some people will watch the whole show and they go, I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Or some will leave it in intermission, which even sometimes a lot of people look down on.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you'll see through the whole show and didn't hear people get up and leave. That's the hardest. People get up and leave in the middle of your show.
middle. Yeah.
That is really annoying to me.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're right in front, get up and leave.
Yeah. But you know what? Because my first show was a show that people left all the time. I mean, Rent, you know what I mean? It was about AIDS epidemic and that kind of stuff. That doesn't bother me. As a matter of fact, I sometimes take a little bit of joy in, all right, that wasn't ready for you.
Yeah.
But it's going to come smack you in the ass one day. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's very cool.
So coming up from that as like sort of my first in big theaters like this, I'm surprised as many people who stay to see Kinky Boots for a show they never paid for.
Right.
They will get, some will get up and walk out, but I mean, it's only a small few.
Right.
And I kind of go, all right, this wasn't for you.
Right.
And I just smile going, this message is flying around through entertainment and through comedians and through artwork all the time.
Sure.
We're not reinventing the wheel. This is nothing new.
It'll
come back and hit
it's
you.
just a new vehicle.
Yeah.
It's the same message, just a different process.
Exactly.
I was when I saw the tech, I was curious how the show would do on the ship because the Alaska run, the crowd is much older, it's a different generation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you didn't know what to expect from people.
Yeah.
So I watched the crowd a lot during that fourth show.
Yeah.
To see how they reacted. It was cool. It was interesting. Everybody stayed for the whole show on the one I saw.
Yeah. Again, I would say maybe out of the first run that was in the Caribbean, I've seen maybe 4 people walk out at a time at once. Now, mind you, I can't see everything, but it's not like a huge group. Most people stay, and then when you get to talk to them, even the ones who were quiet will find a way to get to you and talk to you about what they got from it and how much they loved it.
Yeah.
Someone you would see who's literally just doesn't look like they're into it.
Right.
Weren't smiling. They were just sort of taking it in. I'm like, oh, you're that lady who just was kind of frowning. And she goes, no, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, you know what, that you can't, it's something I learned from stand-up. I have a tendency to look at people and assume what they're thinking. It's actually something I learned from therapy.
Yeah.
Was don't assume to think you know what another individual is thinking about you.
Yeah.
Or what is the phrase is, you have no right to know what another individual is thinking about you. And it doesn't matter. And I'm like, oh, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
Because I'd be on stage and look at people, and if I could kill the whole theater.
Yeah.
But there's one person not laughing.
And it gets to you, right?
Son of a bitch, that guy hates me.
I do play with them, though, especially because I'm a woman, who's a man, and especially my ladies, who some can really be passable.
Right.
You'll see one face who just can't look at. They haven't.
Oh, really? Oh, my God. There's 2, they won't look
They
up.
won't look like they'll. they're in shock, and then when you give them eye contact, they just can't look at you. Or, we had a welcome aboard show where I would do Land of Lola sometimes, and people there, they really don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah, they're totally.
They're like, what is the entertainment on the ship?
Where's the bingo?
Right.
We're talking about bingo and stuff.
And these 6 drag queens and me come out, and they're like, and all of a sudden you'll just see everyone looking down, and you're like, oh, that's cute. And I sometimes fuck with them, just out of my own entertainment. Right?
No. Well, you get a few moments early on, especially when you're talking about those that don't know.
Yeah,
and you make eye contact specifically with someone in the crowd.
Yeah.
That's a great moment.
And
too.
I'll point at them, and usually it's always the one who's a little uncomfortable.
100%.
Can't look, and then I would sort of like lean over, like, no, I'm talking to you, sweetie. You right there. Right. It's for my own entertainment, my own joy.
You got to enjoy while you're up there too, man. It's a great
Right.
moment. That's great. All right, man. So you got 7 months on here, right?
Yes.
Is that it? What do you do? Are you going to do another contract after that? And what is Kinky Boots? Are you going back? Tell me what you're doing after that.
Yeah, well, technically, I just finished a movie, so I probably will leave for that premiere. Okay. It's called I'm Not Gay, it was a fun piece.
Where's
we shot that in New York, like while I was rehearsing for this, and then during
the pandemic.
Right after the pandemic, or right after when things were getting back to work. So we started shooting in July and August while we were in Tampa rehearsing this show. So I'm excited about that. So I get to leave then. And then whenever Doom Patrol calls, and if there's another big TV thing, then I will head out. And you've been very kind of sort of let me out of my contract for a little while,
Well, they should.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you never know.
I know. But you get a chance to have the original performer from Broadway on here doing the show. That's pretty huge. You know what I mean?
I'm enjoying it. So and I would always come back as long as they're always willing to work with me. So after the 7 months, I think we will go back to 3 months on, 3 months off.
Okay.
So I'll tag team with another Lola who's done the show. And we do this, I guess, for 5 years or.
Right on.
Yeah. So.
Right. We obviously still love it, right?
I do.
Yeah.
And I love the show. I love this role. I never thought I'm not a drag queen at all. Like in the sense of I don't go to the clubs at 2 a.m. and do the lip syncing stuff. But I fell in love with this show, and quite frankly, what it has done for my TV and film career is actually quite amazing. It's one of those things we talked about earlier. You just go along for the ride.
Sure.
Before Doom Patrol, I was doing The Deuce as a trans woman, Tales of the City as a drag queen. Like, so this show, 25 years into the business, has started getting me all this other stuff, which blows my mind. And I could have never thought 25 years ago that I'll be wearing 6-inch heels.
Numerous.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's another layer. It's funny, the longer you're in this business, everything you do adds another layer to what you do, opens up more doors down the road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And so thankful. There was a time I'm like, am I about to get pigeonholed?
Yeah, where you're like, oh my God, am I ever going to be able to
wear pants again? Let me be real, though, because all that stuff hurts.
Dude, I don't know how you or women do it, man. Look, dude, I throw on a T-shirt and a hat, and I'm good.
Let me just tell you, the corsets, the shoes, all the stuff that men take for granted, and women are very, and our society makes them, are very quiet about a lot of it.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for real?
There's not much work into this.
Yeah, right. No, it took them 3 hours to get into all that, and they're still like, now I understand when you see women walk off with their shoes on the concrete.
Carrying the shoes.
Or when tennis shoes with a business suit, you're like, I now understand exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I started rapping. I learned a lot about life when I had daughters.
Yeah.
Because I watch them grow up and watch what they're going through. Shit happens to them, and I'm just like, and they get up, and I go, let's go to the store. I'll be ready in an hour. What? Yeah. We're just going to, no, Dad, I can't just go out, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's a whole process.
Yes.
And they have a routine. I mean, she gets up for school every morning and has a routine for like an hour. They have a vanity, right? Vanity, whole thing. She's got her music, her incense, and it's a whole
process, a ritual per se.
It is. It's a whole ritual. And even my ex-wife did. I used to give her, used to give her a hard time about it. I would never go near the bathroom. With hair dryers going, all kinds of stuff. And I was
Like, let's go.
just do your thing, man. Well, once we got 2 bathrooms, it's a lot easier.
It's perfect.
You know what I mean? But yeah, but all the work that goes into just leaving the building, I'm like, oh man, that's rough.
And my hair was much shorter. I would just get up and go.
Yeah.
Brush my teeth, get up and go.
Right. Yeah.
And all of a sudden now you have to spend 45 minutes. Here I spend 45 minutes in a makeup chair. And some sets it's 3 hours, 4 hours, as if I'm doing like 3D effects makeup, and you're like, why is this taking for? What's going on? I look fine. You know what I mean?
Like, I'm not playing a Klingon. Let's just wrap it up.
There's no blood. What's happening? I don't have an axe through my head. So just being an eye-opening experience. Going, I had no idea. Yeah. And being a gay man, it's not like I even had a lot of women in my life who would actually mention it.
Sure, right.
You know, my girlfriends aren't saying anything.
They
it just takes
you
them.
didn't have friends that were always complaining about the work that went into their going out. They didn't do that.
I mean, they may say it a little bit because they're not in my house. I was like, okay, girl, why is it taking you 2 hours to get ready? But you just sort of all right. It takes them 2 hours. But when you start getting into padding and corsets and their undergarment and hose and shoes that look great but just don't quite fit,
right? Well, and the amount of shit, like I've been in Melissa's cabin a couple of times where we're hanging out, and I was over there. Dude, the amount of shit she brings with her, she's got hair extensions all over the place, makeup all over, shoes, dresses. What the hell? Yeah.
And that's probably one suitcase full of stuff. That's probably overage on poundage, and you're like, how do you guys do this?
Yeah, I don't even, and all the different eyeliners and stuff. I'll never forget my daughter. I tell my daughters now, they take pictures of what they want, and I buy it. Okay. They're like, can you get this eyeliner? I want this kind. I go, here you go.
Yeah.
And they go, no, this is fine. I need it ultra fine. I'm like,
you're like,
no, I'm a jerk. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'll go back out. So just take a picture. I'll buy whatever you want. Just send me the picture.
Let me see what it is, because I'm going to mess that up.
I can't screw that up.
Yeah,
right. I'll even go into a store and show someone. Can you tell me where I can find this? Because then you go to the buy it. I'm even talking just packing it, but buying it in a store. There's a whole aisle of. You're like, who needs this much eyeliner? Why is it that much?
And the expense, you probably know. It's just like, who knew that was an extra?
Right.
When you talk about women making 70% on the dollar,
right,
and then
their overhead
hair
is way
extensions.
More. Yes, God. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And the different shades and colors. And who was it? I think my daughter told me this story. Was it Rihanna that came up with her own makeup line that dealt with dark skin because for years it was all just the generic 6 colors, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize that if you're dark skinned, there's so many different. They were like, well, if you're black, wear this.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many different layers of dark skin.
Yeah.
Some people you're darker skinned black, or you're Puerto Rican or whatever. So that I'm like, when she came out with that makeup line, I'm like, that is brilliant.
Yeah.
It had to save 1 million people's lives.
Well, and Max started doing this whole line because even just being a man in theater, that was always an issue.
Right. Oh yeah.
Just our pigments were different,
sure.
But you sort of had to, use what you could use. And also the cameras, how cameras were worked back then wouldn't, depending on how you light us and things like that nature. So that's getting so much better. But then as being a woman, I'm like, I can't even, wow.
Yeah, that's too much.
Wow. God bless them.
Yeah, better them than me.
Yeah.
That's why only men are colorblind, by the way, because I'm colorblind. There's no way I could pick out the right shade. I would go out. And 90% of the time, I go to dinner with my daughters, and they're like, you can't wear that with that." They're like, almost like my little. They're like, I'm in a little relationship with my 2 daughters.
Yes.
Dad, we're not going out with you. Okay, just tell me what to wear.
Yeah, please pick it out for me.
Yeah, I do. I don't care. They can tell me. My oldest runs the house. I don't care. I have less decisions. I always say I'm one missing slipper away from an old senile man. I'm good with that, and I don't care. All right, man. Let's wrap this up. Let's start with. Do you have a website or something?
I'm working on my website, so that should be up. But I'm on social media at alanmingo.com on Instagram as well as Twitter.
Okay.
And Facebook. So,
okay. Perfect. Alan, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was perfect, man. This is really good.